All right, guys, so we have a huge update on the Texas Arlington High School shooter, Mr. Timothy George Simpkins, whom was in a fight with another student. And after that fight, he went and took out a gun and shot 3 or 4 people, including the student that he was fighting. That student ended up in the ICU. I believe that student is still alive and making a recovery. Now, the family is saying that this happened because Mr. Simpkins was bullied, allegedly. That's what they're saying, okay? And after the man got out on a $75,000 bond, which outraged a lot of people in this country except the mainstream media, because they really didn't care about this after they found out that the shooter was not a white male, the family decided to give him a welcome home party, right? A welcome home party after this man committed a school shooting. And they also tried to raise money for him because of the traumatic experience that he was going through, okay? But now we have a huge update. We have a huge update on this situation that strongly suggests that the family's bullying narrative was a lie. Take a look.
Police chief says he does not believe bullying played any role in this month's school shooting at Timberview High School in the Mansfield ISD. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm Steve Eager. Shortly after the shooting, which injured 2 students and a teacher, Timothy Simpkins got an attorney and said he'd been the target of bullying. The family of the student, who was shot several times, denied those claims. Tonight, the police chief said it was the shooter, Simpkins, who participated in, quote, high-risk activity leading up to the fight that day. The announcement was made at a town hall meeting held by the Mansfield ISD. Fox 4's Stephen Dahl was there. Stephen.
Steve, the Arlington police chief tonight saying that the only evidence of bullying is statements made from Simpkins' family. Tonight saying that there was no bullying and that the altercation stemmed from a disagreement between the shooter and the victim.
This was not a bullying incident. And I just want to take that narrative out of the equation.
2 weeks after a Timberview High School student shot 15-year-old Zacchaeus Selby and teacher Calvin Pettit and grazed a teenage girl, Arlington Police Chief Al Jones gave an update on the investigation.
Mr. Simpkins is involved in high-risk activity, and that high-risk activity led to the disagreement within the community.
Chief Jones's statement was a total rebuke of statements made from the suspect, Timothy Simpkins' family, but he did not go into further detail about what type of high-risk behavior Simpkins was allegedly involved in. He would only say Simpkins and Selby had some sort of disagreement outside of school, and that bled into the classroom, leading to a fight and ultimately the shooting. Chief Jones also said he did not believe Simpkins intended to come into the school and shoot multiple students and teachers.
I don't think this incident was an actual school shooting or active shooter.
He also said the aggravated assault charges against Simpkins are appropriate.
We wanted to charge him with the most severe charge that we could.
The announcement came Thursday at a town hall meeting to address school safety at Mansfield ISD.
Some of our kids, yes, some of them were scared. Some of them, it was just another day.
Why have our budget been cut? Why do we not have officers on our campuses like we used to? Why are our children at risk?
The district's official safety protocol allows for 1 officer on elementary campuses and 2 on middle and high school campuses. But some parents said they've come to campus and haven't seen officers. There was some talk of installing metal detectors on campuses. Police say Simpkins was able to come to school with a gun in his backpack. But not every parent agrees that metal detectors are the direction to go.
That's a lot of money to have 40-something doors manned. I believe a simple way to start is clear backpacks.
Mansfield ISD Police Chief Greg Minter says since last week, extra police have been assigned to school campuses. A staff member now monitors surveillance cameras in real time, and there are random checks in classrooms with canines.
The canines are going into the classroom after the students are asked to go into the hallway. The canines then search the book bags and things by smell.
Ultimately, the district will consider what was talked about in Thursday's meeting and hold further discussions.
No one wants to see anything like this happen.
Now, one parent raised a concern about minority students being disproportionately impacted by random searches. The district police chief responded saying that this is done through an algorithm on an app that selects the hall and the classroom and the number of students that will be checked. Again, the superintendent tonight saying that everything is on the table, all of these options, and it'll be discussed at a later meeting.
All right, guys. So as you see that's a pretty strong rebuttal from the police chief in regards to the family's bullying narrative. Okay. And I just want to say, I have no shame to say this. When I did my first couple videos about this, in my second video regarding the whole bullying thing, I said, first and foremost, it doesn't matter whether or not the man was bullied. There's no excuse for what he did, right? Bullying or no bullying. Dude should be charged to the full extent of the law for what he did. Doesn't matter if he was bullied or not. However, I said, I think that in regards to whether or not he was actually bullied, I believe that the answer is somewhere in the middle. And the reason why is because in that video, I went over how the family of the victim that got shot, that was in the ICU, basically said that the family was lying, right? That there was no bullying involved. And they actually accused Mr. Simpkins, the shooter, of being the bully. Okay. Now, the family of Mr. Simpkins, okay, the shooter, said that he was being bullied and also said that this was something that was happening on a routine basis at school. They were saying that he was being robbed because he had nice things, right, on a daily basis. I think there was a story. They said he was, I don't know, stripped naked or his clothes were stolen or something like that in a parking lot. And that his father was also brutally murdered. So with all that information, I'm sitting here thinking, again, like I said, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. There was probably some back and forth between the students. And also the family, after bailing him out, right, after he got out on a $75,000 bond, deciding to throw a welcome home party for him after he shot a teacher and some students at school, right? He just committed a school shooting, doing that and trying to raise money for him on GoFundMe. I'm like, I hope that the family is not lying about all this and then turning around and rewarding bad behavior, trying to get people to feel bad for a school shooter. But now with all this information has come out from the police, basically saying that there was no bullying involved, and in fact that this dude was probably involved in some other sketchy stuff, like probably dealing drugs, probably some gang activity, probably a whole lot of things, right, that he probably shouldn't have been involved in. Now it makes the family look really, really, really bad, right? It makes them look terrible. It looks like exactly what they were doing, which is rewarding bad behavior. Okay, rewarding bad behavior. You threw a party for somebody that was not bullied, that was actually involved in activities that, again, probably were criminal in nature, that got caught up with another student in this stuff, that took that beef into the classroom and tried to kill the student. And you threw a party for him, try to raise money for it, try to get people to feel bad for a school shooter based off a lie. And it's so messed up thinking about how a family would try to make a school shooter seem like a victim. Okay? And there's no doubt in my mind that they were aware of this person's activities. They were definitely aware of what he was doing and what he was involved in. But instead of punishing him, right, they wanted to reward the behavior. They wanted to reward the behavior. Try to make it seem okay. But you know what? I'm not surprised, because a lot of times when it comes to these families, right, and they have family members that are involved in gang activity, criminal activity, selling drugs, being detrimental in their communities, being negative influence on their community. These people, when they eventually die and get killed because of the lifestyle they're involved in, the family at the funeral, and the pastor as well too, he's guilty of this a lot of times too, at the funeral, they'll act like this person was a saint, right? They'll act like this person is going to heaven. Okay, that's what they'll act like. They'll act like this person lived a life of all good, right? There was a positive impact, instead of keeping it real about that person. But I get it. I mean, it's a funeral. But I'm just saying, that's what some people do. But one thing I want to say about this before I end this video, one thing I really want to mention, Timothy Simpkins, this kid, it seems to me that he came from a well-off background, or at the very least, he now lives in an affluent neighborhood. Apparently, he went to private school until recently. He drives a $35,000 car. The family said that he was bullied because he had nice things. Again, I mean, take anything what the family say with a grain of salt at this point. I don't know what to believe. I don't even know if to believe that the kid's father was actually brutally murdered. Who knows? I don't know what to believe anymore. Okay, but regardless, it seems that he came from a well-off background. Okay, but he still had a hood mentality. And the fact that he was living with his grandparents probably suggests to me that maybe he was taken out of the hood. Maybe when he was living with his parents, okay, if you believe that his, father was brutally murdered, maybe he was living in a bad neighborhood before. But he was taken in by his grandparents who were doing a lot better because they wanted to put him in a better environment. He never lost that hood mentality. He never lost it. And he still wanted to live a hood life even though he wasn't in the hood. He still wanted to be a gangster. He still wanted to be involved in criminal activity, allegedly, right? Or activity that could be criminal in nature. And it just goes to show that for some people, you can take them out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of them. And this is stuff that you see all the time with rappers, okay? They come up in the hood, they get rich, they make millions of dollars, but yet they still have this hood mentality. They still surround themselves with friends from the hood that are involved in drugs and gangs and stuff like that, and they'll go move to affluent neighborhoods. They'll go move out to the hills in LA. They'll go move to, the wealthy suburbs of Atlanta. But then one day, you hear a news report that such and such rapper got shot and killed because somebody broke into his home and murdered them. Well, why is that? Because most likely, even though that rapper moved out the hood, he still had the hood in him, and he was still involved in activities that they was involved in before they left the hood. And eventually, that stuff caught up with them, and it followed them into their new neighborhood, into their new life. It continued to follow them. And sometimes it ends up with them losing their lives, right? In this situation with Timothy Simpkins, in my opinion, him wanting to continue to live a hood lifestyle and to be involved in certain stuff led to him committing this act of violence that potentially could have took somebody else's life. You see it all the time, man. Some people just can't get rid of this hood gangster mentality. And again, it's a shame to see this family perpetuating and rewarding this mentality, even though they know that it's wrong and it's toxic. So yeah, that's basically my opinion on that. I tend to believe the police chief. I don't think that bullying really played a role in it. But who knows? More information come out in the future. The family could prove, somehow that, bullying was involved. But again, regardless, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't excuse what this kid did. And it also doesn't excuse the fact that this school, apparently is not well staffed when it comes to resource officers and trying to prevent this stuff from happening in the first place, which is why you saw a lot of parents concerned and upset about, the fact that this didn't even happen in the first place. So with that being said, there's more questions and answers here. But regardless, I think it's messed up that the family tried to essentially paint this school shooter as a victim in this situation. And this police testimony really, really, really does make them look terrible. It really does. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.